Hey, in this Blender tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to animate a car model driving through this tunnel. This tutorial will cover car rigging, road interaction, car animation, how to set up 3 different camera angles, world lighting, and final render settings. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the first video where I show you how to model and texture this tunnel asset completely from scratch. Or, if you don't want to model it, you can just download this tunnel asset by becoming a member on my Patreon. As a member, you get access to all my tutorial files as well as extended cuts from my YouTube tutorials. So consider supporting me on Patreon and get access to a ton of cool perks. Without further ado, let's get started with the tutorial. Okay, so for this tutorial, you're gonna need a rigged car model. Now, in the previous tutorial, we used this Volvo model here, but the problem with this model is that it's not rigged. So I'll quickly rig the car model right now, but I've already made an in-depth video on how to rig any car model using the Rigacar add-on. You guys can watch that video, but I'll just quickly go over how to rig your car model using the Rigacar add-on. So first, make sure you have the add-on installed. So just search for Rigacar here. Mine is already installed and ready to go. So let's hide our tunnel and road. Then let's select our Volvo model and let's move it to the center. So let's just center it out here. Let's also center this out. Make sure the car is facing in the -y direction. Now we just gotta name each part correctly here. So I'm gonna delete empty here. Then I'm gonna start naming each car part. So let's start off with the tire. I'm gonna do F2. We'll rename it to Volvo-wheel.front.left. I'll just copy that and then enter. And then I'll go to this side, F2. I'll rename it to Volvo-wheel, but this is gonna be the front right. And then over here, this one's gonna be the back right. I'll just copy that, enter. And F2, rename this. I'll rename this to, this is the back left. Okay, nice. Now I gotta rename the brakes as well. So select the brakes, F2, and we'll name it to Volvo-wheel brake.front.left. I'll just copy that. And we'll rename this side here. This is the front right now. And again, the back one as well. Brake is gonna be, this is the back right. Just copy that. And then F2, rename it to, this is the back left brake. So once the wheels and brakes are named correctly, so let's go to wireframe and I'm just gonna hide everything here. So let's just select everything except the wheels. Hold shift and I'm just gonna select everything. And let's hit G and let's just move it. Yes, everything is selected except the wheels. So I'll move all these parts into its own collection by hitting M and we'll call it car dash body. Enter. Now I'll just hide that. And now we're just left with the wheels, which is what we want. So let's go ahead and let's go to wireframe. Let's select this front wheel here. And with this last part selected as the orange, so we'll just hit Control P and we'll parent it to the object. So now they're together. And we'll do the same for all the other wheels. So I'm just gonna go ahead and select. Make sure this is the last part selected, the outer wheel, and then I'll hit Control P, object to parents. Again, same thing. This last part, and then Control. Just hit A, and then we'll right click and make sure the origin is set to the geometry. Now let's separate the brakes. So select each brake here. And then hit Alt-P on your keyboard and we'll clear and keep transformation. Now they're all separated like this. Let's just hide the wheels for now. And we'll bring back the car body. Let's go ahead and let's do Shift-A and let's do empty and let's add in a cube. And we'll just make sure the cube is surrounding the car body. And then we'll hit A. Make sure the cube is the last thing selected, the cube empty. Hit Control P. And we'll parent it to the cube empty. Now this cube here controls the entire car body. We'll just do F2 and we'll call it Volvo-body. Okay? Then on your scene collection here, move the Volvo body to the car body here. Then let's bring back our wheels and let's move the Volvo body into the main Volvo collection right here. And we got to make sure everything else goes with it. So make sure all the other parts go inside as well. So just select all the parts and move them into the Volvo collection. Okay, and now we don't need this car body collection, so we can just delete that. And now your collection should look like this. So you should have your main car body here, and then all the wheels like this, and then all the wheel brakes. Okay, so once everything looks like this, we'll just hit A to select everything, and then we'll hit Shift A, and we'll go to Armature. And again, if you have the Rigacar add-on enabled, you should see this car deformation rig. So just click on that, go to wireframe mode, and you should see some bones inside. Let's just open up this menu here, and we'll move the main middle bone down. I want to move it like all the way, like right here. And we'll move it like forward a little bit. Go back to solid mode. Let's just move this car rig into the main Volvo collection again. So now it should look like this. And now hit N, go to the Rigacar add-on, and all you have to do is hit generate. And it should rig your car properly like this. So you can just check to make sure. So just rotate it like this. That's looking good. The suspension as well. Okay, that's good. And then just move it forward, GY. And yes, everything is good to go. So let's go back to object mode. Let's hide this. Okay, once you have your car model fully rigged with the Rigacar add-on, let's rotate it by hitting R, Z, and then 180 on your keyboard. Let's bring back our tunnel and road. Select your tunnel, and we'll hide it for now by hitting H. Then let's select our road. Let's go into edit mode, and let's separate the sidewalk and road. So wireframe, select the middle portion like this, hit P, and then separate selection. Then tab back out, solid view, and let's select the sidewalk and rename it to sidewalk. Select your road and rename it to road. Okay, now let's add some bumps to the road. So to do that, let's first subdivide it. So go into edit mode, select the top face, right-click subdivide, right-click subdivide, right-click subdivide, right-click subdivide, right-click subdivide, right-click subdivide. That's good enough. Tab back out. Let's go to the modifiers and let's add a displace modifier. Let's click on new texture and we'll add a cloud texture. We'll make the size about 0.9 to smooth it out. Then let's hit Control A, apply scale, and let's decrease the strength to about 0.03. Okay, now we have some subtle bumps that the car will be interacting with. So let's move the car over to the right lane here by selecting the car rig, and we'll move it over by 2 meters. Now let's animate the car driving forward. So I'm gonna have it drive forward by going into pose mode, select the bottom blue part here, and let's add a keyframe for the starting position. So let's go to the bone properties, hover over here and hit I to add a keyframe. And at about 170, I'm gonna have the car go all the way to the end. So let's do minus 250 meters, which will take it to the end. And we'll hit I to add in that keyframe. But I'm gonna end the animation a bit before that. So I'll make the animation about 130 frames. So if you hit play on your timeline now, the car is driving forward, but the wheels aren't spinning yet, and we want the car to be interacting with the bumps here. So let's first add in a camera to get a better view of what's going on. So let's go back into object mode, and let's select our scene collection here. Let's hit Shift A, add in a camera. Let's go into the active camera, and we can move it up with our transformation settings, or you can hit Shift and then this button on your keyboard, which will allow you to control the camera with your keyboard and mouse. So I'll just put it here for now. And again, we want to match the speed of the car, right? So let's select our camera here, and then let's go and add a starting keyframe over here and starting keyframe over here as well. And then let's go all the way to frame 170, and we did minus 250 meters, which takes it all the way, 250 meters, which takes it all the way to the end, almost, right here. And then hit I, and then I to add in that keyframe. Now, if you hit play on your timeline, the camera's following the car. but we still need to add that rotation and ground interaction. So select your rig, go into pose mode, let's hit N, and then let's go to the Rigacar add-on right here, and let's add in those ground sensors. So with the eyedropper tool, we're going to select our road for all of them. Okay, now the car will interact with the road. To get a better view, let's just temporarily go back to object mode, and let's increase the modifier strength to like something like this. Now, if you hit play, you can see the car is interacting with the road, which is pretty cool. But we want it to be more subtle, so let's do like 0.03, of course. And we can also select the road and then right-click Shade Auto Smooth. Now, all we need to do is add some suspension animation, and we need the wheels to rotate. So let's go to pose mode, select the suspension. Let's go to graph editor, and we're gonna go over to the bone properties, and we'll add a keyframe on frame 1 here. So let's go ahead and hit I to add in a keyframe. And then the Z suspension is what controls the up and down movement of the car. So let's go to the modifiers with the Z selected, and let's add in a noise modifier. Now, if you hit play, you had some suspension animation. Or let's increase the scale to like 3 to smooth it out. Decrease the strength as well to like 0.1. See, now it's more subtle. All we need to do now is add in that wheel rotation, and it's very easy. All you have to do is just go hit N. Let's go back to the Rigacar add-on, and we need to bake the car steering by hitting OK, and let's bake the wheels rotation. Now, if you hit play, the wheels should be spinning. Okay, the animation of the car is done now. Now let's move on to adding some more camera angles. So let's first start with our main camera angle. Let's go back to object mode. Let's select our main camera. We can hit 0. I'm gonna have it start like right here. Let's decrease the focal length to 24 millimeters. This is the focal length that they typically use for car commercials. So my starting position is gonna be here. So while on frame 1, let's hit I and then I to add in a new keyframe for the starting position. Now let's go to frame 130, and our ending position is gonna be, so this is gonna be my end position on frame 130. So once you're happy with the end position, just go over your transformation settings and add in another keyframe by hitting I and then I. And now let's go back to our timeline. And so we can delete the end one right here. So let's just delete this one here. We don't need that anymore. And this is gonna be our final animation here. Okay, now let's add in another camera angle. Let's select our camera here, hit Shift D, duplicate it, and then click, and then hover over your timeline and hit A to delete all the keyframes. And then let's make this the active camera for now. And now let's position it. So this is my starting position on frame 1. So let's hit I and then I. Let's go to frame 130, bring the camera forward. And this will be the final position on 130. So let's hit I and then I, and then let's hit play. Now we just need to add some camera shake. So to do that, let's select our camera. Let's go to the graph editor. And on frame 1, let's go and so select the X rotation, hit N to open up this menu, go to modifiers and add in a noise modifier. We'll set the strength to be 0.03, and we have some camera shake now. We can do the same thing with this camera. So let's select this camera. Let's go back to frame 1. Let's add in one last camera angle. So let's do Shift D again to add in a new camera. Again, hover over your timeline, hit A, and then X to delete everything. This is gonna be the logo shot here. So let's go to view and make this the active camera now. We'll set the focal length to be 75 since this is a close-up shot. And then let's move it closer to the front here. And let's add in some depth of field. To see the depth of field, you can just turn on depth of field here. The focal distance is gonna be like 0.55. Or like something like this. And we'll make the f-stop like 4.5. But with this camera, we want it to be attached to the car now because it's mounted to the car. So let's select the camera, select any part of the car by hitting Shift, and then select, I don't know, this, Control P, and we'll parent it to the object. Now, if you go back to camera view, the camera will be stuck to the car. And you can have fun with this. You can add as many camera angles as you like for different type of shots. Once you're happy with all your camera angles, select all your cameras by holding shift. And we'll move them to a new collection. So let's hit M, new collection, and we'll call it cameras. This is to stay nice and organized. Select your main camera, go to view, and make this the active camera. And this will be the first camera angle we render out. So let's go ahead and bring back our tunnel. Let's bring back all our assets, our road assets as well. And now we want to see what it's looking like. So to get a preview render, let's go to the render properties here. And let's enable motion blur. Then we'll just go ahead and add in a render region and crop the render region. And we'll change the resolution to 50% for now and the max samples to 200. Let's go to frame, 87. And let's hit render image. Okay, this is what it's looking like so far. Pretty cool, but we need some more light. If you like how it looks so far, then you can just render as is, but let's add some world lighting. So let's go ahead and go into rendered mode. Then let's go to the world properties and let's add in a sky texture. We'll make the strength about 0.5. If we go like near the end of the animation, I want some light leaking at the end of the tunnel. So let's make the elevation like 5, which will add in a nice sunset. We also want to add another tunnel here. So let's go back to object mode, or solid view, sorry. And let's select our tunnel and let's select our road and let's select our sidewalk and let's hit Alt D to duplicate it, and we'll move it back. And you know what? At the end of the tunnel, we're also going to add in another road. So let's go ahead and select our road and our sidewalk. We'll do Alt D and we'll duplicate it again. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to add in a nice folder structure for different shots. So let's go to the output properties. And we're going to do file format PNG. Let's go and make some output folders. So let's go to output. We'll make a new folder. We'll call it, Volvo tutorial animation. We'll go into the folder, make a new folder. We'll call it clips. And then inside this folder, we'll make 3 different folders for 3 different shots. The first folder will be main shot. Second folder is going to be back shot. And third folder is going to be logo shot. Okay, and we'll start with the main shot. So double click there, hit accept, and this will be the first camera angle we'll render out. So we'll hit 100% here, and let's go down to performance and make sure persistent data is checked since we're rendering multiple different camera angles and we want to save the data so the render will go faster for each camera angle. We'll change the max samples to 300. Denoise will be on. I'm using the open image denoise. And that's pretty much it. If you want to reduce the camera shake, you can just click on your camera, go on the X rotation, and you can reduce it to like 0.02. And by the way, if you're using your GPU, make sure you have the right GPU enabled under your preferences. Just go on system here, and then I'm using the optics, and then my GPU is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090, so make sure the correct one is checked. And make sure you uncheck your CPU if you're going to be using your GPU as your main rendering device. So yeah, and then just hit save preferences and then you're good to go. Just hit render animation. So once your animation is rendered, it should be in the folder that you saved it for. So for example, I saved mine in the main shot folder. So it should show up like this as an image sequence. And then you can go ahead and then render out your second camera angle, which was the back angle right here. So just switch like this, set active object as camera. And I made this one 75 frames instead because I wanted it to go faster. And so I'll just go ahead and then switch the output folder to the back angle right here. And I already rendered it out, but you're just going to do that. So just hit accept, and then you're just going to render out your second camera angle again. So if you want to look at your final renders in Blender, you can just go over here to the video editing tab. If you don't have it, just click on the plus icon here and then go to video editing and then video editing right here. And so just go back to, frame 1, go to add image sequence, go to your main shot and then hit A, and then you can import it in. And there it is. You can preview it inside of Blender. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tutorials like this. If you want to see how I composite and color grade this render in DaVinci Resolve, you can watch it by joining my Patreon, where you can get access to a ton of cool perks, including extended cuts of my YouTube tutorials. So consider becoming a member on my Patreon. It's the best way to support me. Alright, until next time, peace.